Hi, it's time for another live look at the astrology. My name is Katie Sweetman, and this is your look at the astrology for September 19th through 25th, 2022. So this week we are wrapping up Virgo season. We've got a few more days left of Virgo season, and then the sun goes into Libra, so we have a whole new season to talk about and a whole new, I guess, set of birthdays. Happy early birthday, Libra. But there are a few Virgos that are at the tail end of the sign that are also celebrating birthdays. So happy birthday to my late Virgos. But yeah, it's going to be Libra season this week. It's going to be the equinox. I'm here in the northern hemisphere, so for me, it's the start of autumn. Maybe if you're watching from the southern hemisphere and perhaps even watching live, because I know some of you like to watch from Australia, New Zealand, as we start the week together. Well, for you, it's Tuesday. It's the start of spring for you, but for the rest of us here in the northern hemisphere, it's the start of autumn and this slow descent into the darker days of autumn. And this sort of prepares us in a way for Scorpio season, which we obviously have not gotten to yet, but this idea of descent, going into something. The nights are getting longer, the days are getting cooler, yeah, we've got lots to talk about this week. Mercury goes back into Virgo. It is Mercury retrograde, by the way. Don't panic. It's just the usual stuff. If you are watching live, as always, let me know where you're watching from. Even if you're watching the replay, because I know some of you watch it the next day. You watch it on YouTube, Instagram, even Spotify, or here on Facebook. But just to reintroduce myself, my name is Katie Sweetman, and I'm an astrologer and psychic medium here in the New York City area. I'm just outside of Manhattan. I'm in Jersey City, and every week we gather live to talk about the astrology. And something that you hear me say over and over again is that the astrology is 50%. You are the other 50%. In fact, I was thinking about it this weekend because I started the Saturn Masterclass with a good group of people that we're going to be working weekly into the beginning of December. But this idea of a recipe, and I don't know, I'm a baker, I'm a cook. That's something that doesn't always come through on this end of things because you can't taste what I'm making. You can hear me. But this idea that the astrology talks about the ingredients and sort of that Saturnian element, the sort of the structure, it's the recipe. But you're the cook, you're the chef. You can't change the ingredients, but you can sort of put different energies in them. So that's how we work with the astrology. We put different energies of ourselves into them. It doesn't mean there isn't difficult astrology. The Virgo season, by and large, has been a time to regroup, a time to plan, a time to get organized after some of the more intense astrology of August. But yeah, if you're watching live, let me know how you're doing. I see seems like a lot of Canadians on the live chat. But yeah, I'm a psychic medium as well as an astrologer. I mentioned that fact because I had a talk a couple weeks ago on September 8th with fellow psychic medium Dallisa Hocking. We do our work differently. I work with the soul, the guides, your spirit team, and the astrology chart. She works with people who have passed on. But we had a really interesting chat. It's on Instagram, it was an Instagram live, and we talked about different experiences that we've had in our work. So check it out. The link is in the show notes. You do need to have an Instagram account, I think, to watch it. And also, just kind of before I forget, the Planets and Predictions Summit has begun. It's free. It's also being hosted by Dallisa Hocking, and I am one of the people that's interviewed, and I'm giving you a sneak peek on the astrology of 2023. And it's more about these sort of larger themes that we are navigating as a collective, because the planets starting in 2023, they're really pointing towards the last signs of the zodiac. We have Saturn in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces, Pluto in Aquarius, but you'll have to sign up and make sure you sign up before Wednesday so you can get access to my talk. Link is also in the show notes. So yeah, let's talk about the astrology of this week. This is September 19th through 25th, 2022. So as we start the week, we are coming to the end of Virgo season. Virgo is the sixth sign of the zodiac. It's an earth sign. So one of the things that we've been doing over the past 4 weeks is really dealing with our day-to-day life, our human life, getting things organized, coming back to work after the summer holidays. I know if you're here in the Northern Hemisphere. And what are the things that need to get done? Virgo has taught us about the importance of craft, details, making sure everything is taken care of, sort of something that we've had to return to with Mercury retrograde, the past almost 2 weeks. Mercury retrograde is not a time to panic. It's just a time to see things from a different lens. It is more receptive than active, intuitive than analytical. But we also have something going on this week, and it's Venus, which is also in Virgo. It's making a trine to Uranus. So something that I write my astrology content for the week on Mondays, and something that I was talking about, I think it's in tomorrow's post, is how we have these moments in time where we're checking in with a larger story. And you've heard me talk about this again and again, this idea of 2018, 2019, May 2018, March 2019. That was the month that Uranus went into Taurus, where it spends 6 to 7 years in the sign. And it's easy for that bit of information to get lost because 7 years is a long amount of time. And if you know anything about Saturn's also a planet that sort of has these 7-year chapters, but I digress. But there is this one part of your life, I know maybe you're thinking, Katie, I'm not a Virgo, Katie, I'm not a Taurus. There's one part of your life that has needed to shift and change since the start of 2018, going into 2019. And there are going to be these moments, 2021, 2022 in particular, with the eclipses, we're checking in on this story. Uranus is an evolutionary planet. Its job is to get us to grow and evolve by any means possible. And Uranus does its work by awakening us, getting us to see things differently, turning things upside down. It's this sense that there is a need for radical authenticity. When somebody wants to, what does that mean, radical authenticity? It means that there's a part of your life where you can't have it be something that it's not. The joke that one time I said this to a client, and it's actually true. My joke is like, if you're a lawyer, or my example, if you're a lawyer because your parents were lawyers and their parents were lawyers and their parents were lawyers, and it just was something that you just naturally stepped into, but it's not you, then you're going to have a moment in your life, or perhaps a series of moments, where Uranus is like, what are you doing? This is not who you are. This is not what you want to do. Here, let me show you. So there's one area of your life that hopefully at this point you know where, because we've been talking about it the past few years, and that area has needed to awaken to something very new. And so I mentioned that this week because Venus, which is the ruler of Taurus, astrology runs on rulerships. It's like this planet is the boss of this sign. The energy of this sign flows to this sign. Right now, the energy of Taurus is flowing over to Virgo because Venus, the ruler of Taurus, is over in Virgo. Hopefully that made sense. So there's this idea that this week we have the trine. Trine is the support for something to come into being. We still have to do the legwork. A trine is the energy of spirit as opposed to a square. It's the energy of matter and manifestation. You need to bring it into manifestation. So a trine might just give you an opportunity, a brainwave, an insight, but you gotta make it real. That's your role as a physical human being. So this week, on September 20th, as Venus makes that trine to Uranus, it might be this opportunity that's part of a larger story that's been brewing the past few years. Something for you all to kind of think about and pay attention. And I want to keep talking about Uranus and Taurus more as we get into, especially as we get into October, because we're going to go into eclipse season, and this eclipse season is showcasing the energies of Uranus and Taurus, Scorpio, Saturn and Aquarius, and it's really putting a pressure point and maybe even an inflection point in the year for a lot of us, especially my fixed signs. Life is shifting and changing. Hey, I'm so sorry, but we've been sort of going through these points already the past months, past couple of years. So yeah, we have Venus trine Uranus. That's on Tuesday, September 20th. And then we have the sun in Libra. So the sun goes into Libra. It's a little bit late, at least here in Eastern Standard Time. The sun goes into Libra on September 22nd. I think it's like 9 p.m. something. And we enter a new season. So the sun goes into the 7th sign of the zodiac. And the 7th sign, we have now crossed into the second half of the zodiac. The zodiac has 12 signs. It sort of encompasses this zodiological, no, that's not right. This astrological, that's the word I'm looking for, this astrological year that begins with the spring equinox, the sun's arrival in Aries on around March 21st, give or take. Here we are 6 months later. It's the autumnal equinox, or vernal if you're in the southern hemisphere, and we have sort of entered into the other half of the zodiac. So the first half of the zodiac is really a lot about our experiences, our individuality, of the building of the self, our experiences that are very much in our environment. And then we get into the second half of the zodiac, and it's about the world. It's about people, our relationship with people, our relationship with society, humanity, our ambitions, our status, our place in the world, our beliefs, and also the really intense emotions that can come up between two people. So Libra is the sign of a relationship. It's all relationships. I say that because sometimes classically you read about Libra, it's like, oh, the sign of marriage. Well, relationship takes a lot of different forms, especially these days. And Libra is also the sign of balance. And when I think about Libra, I always go back to this little bit of a technical point. I always go back to the fact that Saturn is exalted in Libra. Saturn does its best work in the sign of relationships. This is why when somebody says, I don't have a relationship because I have Saturn in the 7th, I want to be like, no, you actually have an ally. You have an accidental exaltation. It's a classical term. But Saturn teaches us that life needs relationship. We need partnership. We can't do life alone, as pathologically self-sufficient as some of us are, yours included. But this is a reminder that human beings need relationship, need connection. And that's actually one of the 4 pillars of life. So Libra is a cardinal sign. Cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, they align with the 4 seasons, the 4 directions, and they hold up, air quotes, they hold up the sky. They say that individuality, family, relationships, and responsibilities and duties are the 4 pillars of life. And without them, it's hard for us to build and construct our lives. So here we are, this new season, to reflect on our relationship with relationships, to connect to other people, to build alliances, to build even romantic relationship if that's relevant to you. We have the start of Libra season. It's also, as I sort of alluded to in my introduction, is that it's the equinox. Equinox means that we've hit the midpoint between the solstice, the summer solstice, winter solstice, and the sunlight is now equal day, equal night. Well, if you're in the northern hemisphere like me, it says that every day after this, until we reach the winter solstice, each day is going to get darker. And so there's this sort of moment, I'm not looking forward to the dark days of winter, mind you, but there's this moment where it's just like the days are going to get darker. That sort of starts our descent into eventually Scorpio, into Sagittarius, the sign that happens before the winter solstice, at least here in the northern hemisphere. But Libra, it's coming out of the harvest of Virgo. We are sharing, connecting, relating. It's also ruled by Venus. Venus is the ruling planet of Libra, and it's about beauty, fairness, harmony, equity, balance, and sort of to put our lives back into balance, to make connection with people, because again, we can't do life alone. So Libra season begins, and then a couple days later, we do have the Libra new moon. This is going to be Sunday, September 25th. That new moon will be at 5:55 p.m. Eastern here in the New York City area. That new moon really does properly kick off Libra season. And this new moon says that over the next 4 weeks, this takes us into the Scorpio solar eclipse of October 25th, we are in a time that is focused on all relationships, to put things back into balance, to really make space for negotiation and compromise, to put a little bit of charm into things. Libra, and especially its ruling planet Venus, is to smooth over the rough edges. There's an element of veneer to Libra. I'm just saying this as a Scorpio because we get to Scorpio season, and then we pull the veneer back and we see what's really behind the social graces and social charms of Libra season. Just a little fun fact, and we're going to talk about this more next week. When we go into the Libra new moon, we are 1 lunar month away from a solar eclipse, and typically solar eclipse energy in the story around the solar eclipse, even if it's in the future, can start to present itself, especially as the degrees of the solar eclipse can get activated by the moon or other planets. So that's just, again, we'll talk about that next week, but we're coming up to another round of eclipses. I know, hard to believe, time flies. I know for a lot of you, the eclipses of April and May were pretty pivotal. But that said, this Libra new moon, it showcases the energies of Venus. It's in Virgo, at least for this week. It's in Virgo. Classically, Venus is not at home in Virgo. So there's a sense of even though we are moving forward, even though we have this new beginning, we have one foot in the past. And so that foot in the past is saying we have to focus on relationships, but we have to tie up loose ends. We have to let go of the past. Virgo is what's called the 12th sign of Libra, and the 12th sign of any zodiac sign. There's the sense of detachment from the physical plane, detachment of the things that cause us suffering. And Venus in Virgo will make what's called an opposition to Neptune. So we have this very interesting lens through relationships over the next 4 weeks. And Neptune, like Uranus, like Pluto, is an evolutionary planet. It just does its work a little bit differently than Pluto and Uranus. Neptune dissolves the boundaries between the physical plane and the non-physical plane. It really heightens and increases sensitivity. And it sort of, as a lens to that Venus in Virgo, it's relationships, but it's relationships where we have to see someone at the level of their highest self, at the level of their universal self, and to somehow make peace with the fact that there is the human self and then there's the higher self. And sometimes the gap is very far. And that's hard when we want to be in a relationship with somebody and we see their potential. And sometimes we try to fix. Don't fix. If you can fix up a house, but you cannot fix up a person. You can fix up yourself. Don't fix up other people unless it's your job, unless they're paying you to do that. But there's sort of needing to find that resolution between somebody's humanity and sometimes messy humanity and their higher self, their spirit self, themselves in their best day. So how do we do that? That's the million-dollar question, and something that we're going to have to keep coming back to over the next 4 weeks. But with an opposition to Neptune, it is a time to purify, to heal, to release, to let go, to redeem. Sometimes when I talk about Neptune, I think it really hits buttons with people, because it's, with Neptune's involved, we're not dealing with the physical plane. It's a hard planet to pin down because it doesn't work on our physical reality. It certainly shows up, but it's a feeling. Sometimes it's a really intense emotional feeling, and so maybe there's a lot of intense emotions over the next 4 weeks. We'll see. But when we go through the zodiac in just a moment, you'll see where this Libra new moon is sorry, I'm just looking at the comments. Where this Libra moon's gonna show up. Somebody said the volume went away. Well, Mercury is retrograde. Hopefully you all can hear me still. But let's look at the astrology. Oh, I forgot to talk about Mercury. Speaking of Mercury retrograde, I forgot to talk about Mercury going back into Virgo. It goes back into Virgo on September 23rd. So Mercury has been retrograde primarily in Libra. It turned retrograde at 8 degrees of Libra. I'm blanking on the date that it went retrograde. It was like September 10th it went retrograde. And then Mercury, it's going to go back into Virgo, where it was at the end of August. It's going to go back on September 23rd. So with Mercury going back into Virgo, especially as we go into the end of September, we are revisiting something from the end of August. We're retracing our steps. We're getting a new perspective. Mercury sort of dips back into this space because we'll be in Libra season that talks about needing to release, needing to let go, and needing to sort of wrap up loose ends from the past. But Mercury will go direct on October 2nd. And so we're this week actually we're at the midpoint of Mercury retrograde. So we're almost there. We'll make it. So let's look at the astrology for September 19th through 25th, 2022 for each of the 12 signs. Just your friendly reminder, you can listen for your rising sign. You can also listen for your sun sign. You often ask me which is correct. It's both. I know that's a little bit of a controversial point, but yeah, it could be two things at once. And if you're really savvy, you can sort of listen for both and find the overlapping story. So there you go. That's how I do it. So yeah, let's start with Aries. Aries Libra season is the arrival of the sun in what's called your seventh sign, your seventh house, so to speak. And when the sun is there, it's a time for you to focus on relationships. And let's say Virgo season for you has been about work and preparation and sort of tending to your day-to-day life and organization. But now it's time to focus on relationships. So here's a little bit of the rub, Aries. Venus, the ruler of your seventh, is in Virgo, and it's making an opposition to Neptune. So what does this mean in English? It says that you have to look at relationships and look at the inequity in relationships. It's really easy for relationships to be imbalanced. Here, I do all these things for you. Okay, but I want something in return. Or I do all these things for you and I suffer because I'm not recognized for what I do, or I feel taken advantage of. Or maybe the times in relationship where we're a little bit of a doormat. It happens. So there's something about a power issue or an inequity that needs to be addressed, if at all. Maybe this is not for every Aries, but with Neptune in your 12th, it's like, how do you let go of something from the past? And maybe it could be a hurt or betrayal or something quite deep that you're still holding on to. Either it's an existing relationship or a past relationship. I will add that Mars is your planet. Mars continues to be in your third sign, so it's a busy time for Aries. You are going to come up on a Mars retrograde at the end of October, so we got 5 weeks until that happens. And so really be mindful and pay attention to the things that you're doing, choosing the directions you're headed, because you may need to walk back on a few things or see things from a different perspective as you go into November, December, and even into the beginning of January. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Taurus. So Libra, like you, is ruled by Venus. There's a lot of Venusian energy, and Venus energy is very accommodating. It wants to help. It wants to take care of. It wants to make sure you have snacks or a drink or tucked in the bed. I don't know. But, Libra for you is what's called your sixth sign. And so this is the season for you, just like every Libra season, for you to focus on your day-to-day life. What needs to get done, a sense of the organization of your life, the structure, the schedule. It sounds really, kind of mundane, but it's really necessary, because when the sun arrives in this part of your astrology chart, it's time to, in a way, sit in the command seat of your life. Sitting in the command seat means you've got all your little, buttons and levers, and you have these things that you have to do in order to get your life to flow. This also includes health and wellness. So this is time for you to focus on your physical body, your physical being. How do you take care of it? Nutrition, exercise, getting some fresh air, going for a walk. I will say Taurus, especially with Libra as your sixth sign, it's got a little bit of a sweet tooth. So maybe this is time of looking at sugar. Look, everybody, or enjoying life. Enjoy life, Taurus. It's been a tough year. But that said, Venus is your planet, and Venus continues to be in your fifth sign. And the fifth sign is about self-expression, creativity, identity, persona, personality, and really getting back to the things that give you life, that sort of light you up. With Venus opposite Neptune, especially with the energies of the new moon, it's like, how do you find the balance between your needs and the needs of other people? Maybe the needs of a friend, maybe the needs of humanity and the collective. I know that's a big word, but there's this need to help and be of service, but at the same time, don't sacrifice yourself, Taurus. But that said, use Libra season to sort of get prepared, get organized. You're a month out, 5 weeks out from that Scorpio solar eclipse on October 25th, followed by a Taurus lunar eclipse on November 8th. It's going to be an interesting ride as we go into October, November. Gemini, your planet is Mercury, and it continues to be retrograde. It's retrograde presently in your fifth sign of self-expression, creativity. There's sort of this larger theme that's woven into this Mercury retrograde period about identity. Who are you? Who are you really? Mercury is going to retrograde this week back into Virgo. That happens on September 23rd. So you're going back to something from August, in theory. This could be something about the home, the household, family, roots, foundation, your emotional needs, and your emotional core and emotional stability. So when Mercury turns direct on October 2nd, that might be some sort of point in a larger story about home, family, where you live, your household, who lives with you. But that said, it might be a little bit of a tender time as you go into October, because Mercury is going to turn direct in what's called opposition to Neptune. So it's sort of like, how do you find the balance between the things that you want and you need versus the needs of something greater, the needs of something outside of this world? Sort of this the balance act that we all have to do with our human lives and our spirit lives. But that said, this Libra new moon is a new beginning in the sign that talks about the passion of life, the spark of life, the things that make you you. But again, having to find, I don't want to use the word sacrifice, because that's a word that can sometimes bring up negative connotations. It's like the things that we know that we have to do, even though if we had to choose it, we wouldn't, but it's something that's bigger than us. And it's like, sometimes we have to do the thing that we, like the adult thing that we know is the right thing, but it's not always the easy thing. So we're sort of finding the balance point between you and the needs of something greater. Gemini. Cancer, Libra is what's called your fourth sign. Something I was saying in the introduction when I was talking about the cardinal signs, you are a cardinal sign Cancer, along with Aries, is that the cardinal signs, apart from aligning with the four seasons, talk about the four pillars of life. And one of the pillars of life is family. And I realize family is not always a kind word for people. You know, it maybe can evoke things from the past and maybe not very pleasant things. But on a more abstract level, family, we need family. We need a sense of family, even if it's not our blood family. So who is family? And sometimes there's points in our astrology where we have to answer a simple question. Where's home? Who is home? And maybe this is a time for you to revisit these deeper themes of where do you belong? Who are your people? Whether it's your blood relation or the people who are your chosen family, or maybe even creating your own family. On a more mundane level, this Libra new moon does talk about a change in your home environment. It could be the natural time in your personal calendar to move, to make a change in your household. Somebody moves in, somebody moves out. You're focusing on your home environment. With Venus in your third, this could be a bit of a busy time, and having to either do things about the home, make choices about the home, do things in the neighborhood about the home, or maybe these larger themes about the choices that you have to make about family or where you live, and trying to find the balance between like what you want versus maybe your some sort of larger theme about convictions and truth and faith and meaning. And how do you choose something that's in alignment with your values, if possible? You know, sometimes we all have to try to find that balance point between, like, you know, the things that we really think like we have to stand up for. These are the things that are right, and sometimes that's immutable. We can't, you know, we have to stand up for it, but sometimes we have to make concessions, and that can be difficult. But how do you find the balance point between these two areas, Cancer? That said, you know, Mercury will go back into Virgo for you, Cancer. Virgo is your gotta do the math, third sign, and so you might be revisiting choices and decisions that you made earlier in August. Leo, Libra season means that the sun has arrived in your third sign. So this comes off of Virgo season's need to get stable, secure, grounded, really focus on your, you know, kind of human life, you know, your physical needs, your money, income. And now it's time to focus on movement, travel, ideas, information, education. And maybe over the next 4 weeks, you have a lot to say, a lot to do, a lot of places to go and to travel. Typically, this time is more about, you know, Libra is more about, you know, trips, not like long distance abroad trips, but kind of movement within, not so far from home. Maybe it's time to focus on your immediate environment and even your neighborhood. But that said, Libra season in the Libra new moon puts an emphasis back on Virgo. And so it's like the choices that you're making, how are they in alignment with your values, your needs, your wants? Maybe there's something about information, ideas, or even your voice and the value of something you have to say. There is some emphasis, either it's literally on money or it's about currency and the currency of things. And currency is not always something that's physical, but there is something about these sort of deeper emotions. You know, Leo, you do have Neptune in your eighth, and sort of having to do a lot of deep emotional work. And this has been going on since 2012. A lot of deep emotional work to release things from the past, or maybe release things that are in the way of you really saying what you want to say, Leo. Virgo, it's coming to the end of your season, Virgo. I know it goes by so quickly. But if your birthday is at the end of Virgo season, you know, the first few days of this week, happy birthday, Virgo. You're one of those Virgos, especially where your sun is in the zodiac. It's getting a Neptune opposition. And it's been getting a Neptune opposition. I mean, Neptune has been in Pisces, your opposing sign, since 2012. But I know that those latter Sun and Virgos, you're really feeling that pull of Neptune, and it's hard to really hold on to the physical when you're getting such a strong Neptune. So, some Virgos might feel like they're in a fog, or the sharp details that they're usually, used to are not so sharp anymore. And I think the lesson, and a little bit of this is, because my mom was a Virgo, and so I saw this from a different perspective, but it's like, how do you learn to let go? And Virgo is this sign that my joke is Virgo is a secret Scorpio, because they are the boss of the details. They are planning and mitigating every possible risk. But Neptune says, I don't care. And maybe the risk that you so cautiously and perfectly planned for, it's hard with a Neptune opposition. So I'm just saying that is kind of neither here nor there, as opposed to the Libra new moon this week. But it's just something for you to reflect on, is how do you find that it's not surrender, it's more like peace. How do you find an internal peace, Virgo, with the fact that some things can't be planned for, and how you can be a Virgo and have everything sort of organized and neat, but sometimes life is life. And it's surrender, but it's really peace. And sometimes you just have to be at peace with that things are going to happen the way that they're going to happen. And sometimes life is messy, and that's okay. And this is also an opposition where, health and wellness, you're more sensitive, and sometimes even environmentally sensitive. And this is sort of where Neptune dissolves the boundaries between this world and the next world. And suddenly the things that you thought were up are down and up, and maybe you're more tired than usual. But a Neptune transit says that it's, you could be the most powerful person in the world. You could make $1 million, but first it has to feed your soul. So there's sort of this, like I said, kind of neither here nor there for the other Virgos. You went through this a few years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It's just now, as Neptune gets to those last 5 degrees of Pisces, Neptune transits 14 years. Uranus transits 17 years, 7 years, geez. Pluto is going to be in Aquarius for 20, but I'm kind of getting off track. So anyway, Libra new moon. Libra is your second sign. And the second sign says, okay, after the new beginnings of your birthday, it's time to make things grounded, solid. You're trying to focus on the things that are practical about your material life, your income, your sense of stability and security, how you earn a living, and how do you sort of gather the resources that you need at this time. Venus, the ruler of this new moon, is going to be in Virgo, your sign. So there's sort of the sense of like, in order to move forward, you have to sort of take action. You have to sort of be in the command seat. But you do have Venus's opposition to Neptune, and sort of maybe the things that I was saying a few moments ago for my later born Virgos is actually relevant to everybody. How do you make peace with the things that you can't plan for? How do you move forward, and how do you invest in yourself and invest in your life and gather the resources you need? But at the same time, maybe it's somebody else needs your attention right now. And maybe it's finding the balance with your wants, needs, and desires, and the wants and needs and desires of somebody else in your life. It could be a partner, it could be a family member, it could be another type of relationship. Oh, I will add, Mercury is returning to Virgo, and it will turn direct on October 2nd. But typically, you're kind of rewinding back to something from August. Libra, happy early birthday, Libra. If your birthday is on the new moon of September 25th, maybe plus a day or so, it's going to be a year of new beginnings for you. So happy birthday, Libra. The new moon gives you sort of this personal reset for the zodiac year. It's like you have your birthday, but that new moon really kind of gives you a time to sort of plant the seeds, a time of new beginnings in your astrology. But that said, you've got Venus, the ruler of your planet, but also the ruler of the new moon. It's in your 12th sign. So there's a sense of like wanting to move forward and go forward into this new personal year. It's your birthday. But at the same time, you got one foot in the past. And so it's hard to be two places at once, but it's sort of like you have to do the work. So having Venus in your 12th right now, it's like you're either tired or you need to rest, you need to recuperate. There's a time to meditate and reflect on the past year and what you would like to bring into the coming year. And Venus in the 12th sort of talks about the sort of the separation of your human wants and needs and desires, but the turning towards your spiritual needs and your spiritual desires. And as you move forward, maybe it's a time to check in with your soul. I want this XYZ for my new year, but is that in alignment with my higher self? Is that in alignment with the needs of my soul, my higher truth? And maybe it's a birthday that you're getting a bit, existential. You need to sort of search yourself. You need to reflect and to see what is inside of you that is really pointing the way as you go into this new personal year. Libra, you do have Neptune in your 6th. So this is a much larger period of time. It's been 10 years of Neptune really shifting and shaping your relationship with your physical life. And maybe the things that you thought were important 10 years ago are not the things that you think are important now. For some Libras, just as an aside, Neptune's time in your 6th has needed to shift your relationship with health and wellness and nutrition, and to kind of purify the things in your physical life that are not supporting you on a much larger spiritual level. Scorpio, so the sun going into Libra means you are coming to the end of your personal calendar year. Libra is your 12th sign. It represents the end of your zodiac. So when the sun goes into Libra, it's time to rest, reflect, to not push too hard. Certainly you've got a lot of deeper emotional things coming up for you. Scorpio, you still have Mars, your planet, in your 8th sign of Gemini. So you're going to have the sun in Libra, 12th. You're going to have Mars, your planet, in the 8th. These are two what are called water houses, water signs for you, even though they're air in your personal astrology. So this says that you're in a little bit of an emotional time, and maybe you're searching your soul, Scorpio. You're wondering what's important, especially as you get ready to not only celebrate your birthday season in a month's time, but a birthday season that's punctuated by a solar eclipse. This is going to be, I believe, the only solar eclipse in Scorpio. The other ones are lunar eclipse. So this says that, especially if you're born on October 25th, plus or minus a day or two, you're powerful new beginnings. For the rest of you Scorpios, it's a time of pivots, new beginnings, things coming into your life, things coming out of your life. And maybe because you're a Scorpio, you sense that. And it's kind of bringing up a lot of deep emotions for you. But that said, tend to your spiritual life and your spiritual needs as much as you need to tend to your physical life and your physical needs at this time. Venus, the ruler of the new moon, is in your 11th, the sign of friends and community, your social themes, social issues, social causes, and needing to navigate some deeper themes in friendship and community. Mercury is retrograding back out of the 12th and into your 11th. So it's revisiting a theme about friends and community that brings you back to the end of August. The Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, Virgo season for you, sort of represented the highest reaches of your personal zodiac calendar. It's been about your career. It's been about your ambitions and sort of the duties and responsibilities that we all have to carry in the world. So the sun going to Libra, you're starting to wind down your astrological year. Libra is your 11th sign, so the 11th sign points you towards friends, communities, social themes, social issues, social causes, the collective, humanity. It's a big picture placement in your astrology wheel. And so you're looking out towards the world. It's not inward, although, nope, that's nothing else going on there. But it's not inward, it's outward, and sort of planning ahead for the days to come, especially when you go into Scorpio season. It's your time to rest and reflect and to prepare for your season, which begins at the end of November. I'm getting ahead of myself. That said, Jupiter is your planet and it continues to be in Aries. It's going to be in Aries until the end of October. So this is a time where you're really focusing on creativity, self-expression, desire, passion, romance, the things that make you you and the things that are intrinsic to life. Without that sense of passion and that spark and that joy of life, we would get burned out. So it's a time for you to really nourish the things that make you you, Sagittarius. But that said, the Libra new moon, it's happening in your 11th. So this is a time for you to have new beginnings in your social circle, your friends, your community. It's new beginnings that point you towards the future. But with Venus, the ruler of the new moon, in your 10th, you're sort of going back to something in your professional life. So maybe you need to network for your career or network to sort of reach towards your higher goals and your ambitions, and sort of looking at your worldly life at this time, Sagittarius. Mercury is an important player in your personal astrology. So it is retrograde, no big deal, but it is a time where things need to sort of revisit and to rewind and to wrap up, old loose ends while Mercury goes back into Virgo, your career sign. Pay attention, and we'll talk about this at the start of October, but pay attention to Mercury direct around October 2nd, because that's going to put an emphasis on your professional life. Mercury will make an opposition to Neptune. It's sort of this balance that you've been having to do between the needs of home and family, or your deeper needs and your emotional needs, versus your professional needs or your professional duties and responsibilities. And sort of that sometimes hard balancing act that we have to do, because Neptune sort of can push and pull and say things are more important. It's like, I don't care if you have something to do at work. Like, you have to focus on your family right now. You have to focus on home and your emotional needs at this time. But that said, like I said, Mercury will switch signs on September 23rd, and it goes back into Virgo. So also pay attention to what's happening around Mercury changing signs on September 23rd. Aquarius. No, I'm totally jumping over Capricorn. I'm so sorry. Capricorn, just your friendly reminder, Saturn is your planet, and Saturn continues to be in your second sign of money and income and value and resource. And I think I said this last week, but Saturn's going to turn direct at the end of October, on October 23rd. So you're in this sort of, 4 or 5 week stretch where Saturn is starting to prepare to turn direct. And this is the last time Saturn's going to turn direct in Aquarius. It's not going to return, once it leaves Aquarius in March 4th of 2023, it's not going to return to Aquarius for another 20 years. So this is the time where you've been really building your material life. You're really focusing on income, value, worth, and sort of these larger themes about value and worth and even self-worth. That said, Libra season, Sun in Libra, new moon in Libra, Libra is your 10th sign. The 10th sign is about your professional life. It's about your career, the title after your name, and the worldly duties and responsibilities that we all carry. And it's a time where you have to sort of do the adult thing. Another way of looking at it is that this is a time where your professional life gets a new beginning. It could be a job change, a job offer, something that puts you or gives you recognition on a public level. With Venus, the ruler of the new moon, it's in your 9th sign. So there's something about this new moon that's very much wrapped up in truth, faith, convictions. What do you stand for? What do you believe in? But also publishing, broadcast media, getting your ideas and information out there, and also higher education. So there's sort of this balance that you're doing about your professional life, but also what's the philosophy that really powers your professional life? Like, why do you do what you do? Is it just to make money, or is it just to do this? So how do you really get clear about your sense of mission and purpose in the world, and how does that inform your professional life? Aquarius. So I was saying about Capricorn, Saturn is your sign, and Saturn is starting to come to the end of its time in Aquarius. So when Saturn turns direct on October 23rd, that is the last time Saturn is going to make a station. That's what it's called, a station direct, or a station retrograde. In this case, is a station direct. The last time that Saturn's going to make a station in your sign for 30 years. These are points, whether it's the Saturn station of October 23rd or June 4th of 2022 or last October 2021. I'm pretty sure there was a station in June of 2021 as well, where you're sort of making these points of things trying to come together, things trying to take shape. It's your life taking shape. It's sort of these new beginnings. And I'm saying new beginnings because Saturn is in your sign. And where this is about you building for the next big chapter of your life. Your life works in these 30-year arcs. I know 30 years, but Saturn takes 29 and a half years to go around the sun. But Saturn spends 2.5, 3 years in each of the zodiac signs. So yeah, Aquarius, you're a long game sign, and you've been really focusing on starting something, building something, becoming something since 2020. And maybe that's a bit different than you had planned because there have been a few wild cards because Saturn's been making a square to Uranus. I'm just putting this on your radar, Aquarius. I think I said this last week. But there's some bumpy astrology in October, November. And I'm just saying this, it sort of picks up on themes from April, May, it's February, August, and sort of putting this pressure on you it's like new beginnings, but new beginnings that are breaking you out of from the past. That said, Libra is your 9th sign, and the 9th sign is you're entering the next 4 weeks. It's about, what do you believe in? What do you stand for? What's your truth? What's your philosophy? Life needs to have a sense of mission. And mission, that word can, I guess, mean a lot of things to different people, but like, why do we do what we do? Is it just to, I don't know, show up? Or sometimes we do the jobs that we do because it's coming from someplace very personal. Or maybe we have oriented our life around a certain religion or philosophy because we need our life to sort of, have some sort of higher bar that we're all working towards. So there's sort of these existential questions that are coming up in this Libra new moon. With Venus in your 8th, you have to think about how Virgo season has been a season for you to really do the deeper work. And the truths that we stand for in the 9th are built on the experiences of the 8th. So what do you believe in? What do you stand for? But this may come out of experiences, and these are not new experiences, but these are experiences that are really personal to you. Or maybe you were confronted by life or tested by life, or maybe you had to go through something difficult. And maybe it's like, no, this is my truth. This is what I believe in because I know that ... These are the things that really sustained me. My faith sustained me through my darkest time, for example. But it's a little bit of an existential time, Aquarius, and one that in a way is preparing you for the bumpy road ahead. Just being honest, as you get into October, November, Saturn turns direct. November, we have eclipses. But that said, really think about these deeper existential questions about what do you believe in? What do you stand for? It could be travel. It could be a time where travel and education is also highlighted. Finally, Pisces. So Pisces, Libra is your 8th sign. You're coming out of your 7th sign. Virgo is your 7th sign of relationships, other people, connection to other people. And relationship is not just a simple social exchange. Relationship needs to be built on something, and it needs to be built on intimacy, vulnerability, that sort of deeper connection that two people form, whether it's through romantic connection or whether it's through a deeper emotional connection within a relationship. And so this is a time for you to look at relationships and look at the deeper side of relationships. That said, the eighth sign, this is your time and your personal zodiac calendar to be tested by life. I know that sounds a little like, oh, wait, what? Tested by life? This is what I tell my clients. Imagine you live a life where you are never tested. Everything is easy. Everything's handed to you. We have these moments, in this case, Libra season is your time in your personal zodiac calendar where you have to do that deeper introspection. You have to examine yourself. You have to show up for capital L life. But it's those experiences that change and transform you, and it's those experiences that lead you to the truth and wisdom of, in your case, Scorpio season. So that said, it's a little bit of a heavier emotional time with Venus, the ruler of this new moon. It's pointing back to Virgo, the sign of relationships. There's something about you and somebody else. It could be a romantic partnership. It could be a different type of relationship. But this is a need to find the balance between you and somebody else, and maybe sometimes the messy emotional work to pull back the veneer between two people and to see what's really there. This could be a time of getting into deeper truths, especially with Mercury going back into Virgo. Mercury will turn direct on October 2nd, but these deeper truths that are between two people and what's real. And maybe there's a need to sort of question those with something between you and somebody else, and if something is true, if something is real. But Jupiter is your planet, continues to be in Aries, your second sign of money and income. It's so much about value and worth. And since we are on the subject of relationships and trust and truth and meaning, make sure that you are sort of standing in your values and really standing for your truth and your convictions. So that is your look at the astrology of September 19th through 25th, 2022. I really thank you all for joining me week in, week out. I know a bunch of you are my clients, or you just watch regularly. And I know a lot of you will even comment to me that you watch it. You don't necessarily watch it live, but you say, I feel like I know you. And it's kind of crazy. I'm talking to you and you're talking back to me. So yes, you can book a consultation with me. You can go to my website, empoweringastrology.com. They are virtual consultations by the magic of Zoom. Somebody's like, do you do them in person? I used to do them more before COVID. It's possible, but let's talk. But that said, follow me online on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Spotify, YouTube. And I will catch you all next week. So we have more to talk about with Libra season and as we prepare ourselves for the eclipses of October and November. So until the next time, take care. Bye.